Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. If any proof were needed, which it probably isn't, that Humza Yousaf is an incredibly weak man, a man who should not be leader of a party, a man who is not a leader of a party, because he is beholden to a tiny, mad minority in his own government. And this truth can be laid bare by the fact that he has admitted that the A96 will probably not be duelled. The reason is, despite calls from everyone to duel it, that the Greens don't like it. He's done everything. He's bent the knee at every opportunity. He's obeyed them at every chance he's had. He has never, ever stood up to them. Because he daren't. Because he lacks a spine. He lacks the cojones. He is not a full man. He is a quivering jellyfish. A man who should be in no way in any kind of position of power because he is quite incapable of thinking for himself. He can only do as he is bidden by his green masters. What is the point of having a government if someone else is in control? And meanwhile people are dying on what is an undoubtedly dangerous stretch of road that would, for any other reason, have been duelled a long time ago. We'll have a look at this article, but let's be in no doubt whatsoever that Humza Yousaf is not the First Minister. Patrick Harvie is. Here goes. So Humza Yousaf's admission that the A96 is unlikely to be duelled in full is branded a scandalous betrayal. A weak man incapable of standing up and saying to these mad, extremist, Marxist Greens the word no. What a coward. What a spineless, craven fool he is. The SNP leader has alluded to really difficult looming decisions around a long-standing promise to duel the North East A96 road, leading the opposition to call him out for playing political games. And you see that picture of him there where he's holding his mouth because he's a worried man. He's scared. He's like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to hurt the Greens. The Greens might get angry. Ooh. Because he is totally in the thrall of this minority segment of his government. He doesn't know what to do. He is in a position he really hasn't got a clue what to do because he's so, he's spineless. He's just a quivering jellyfish. Humza Yousaf's failure to confirm the complete duelling of a dangerous Aberdeenshire road, along with fresh statements that hard decisions will have to be made, has been branded scandalous and a betrayal of road users. People are dying every day. People are dying on these roads because they're not duelled. The First Minister told Hollywood Sources podcast that climate targets will be taken into consideration and some really difficult decisions will have to be taken on the future of Inverness to Aberdeen Road. The safety of drivers has been put at risk, said North East MSP Liam Kerr, who accused Mr Yousaf of playing political games. If you want to do something for the environment, duel the road, because sitting there slowly trying to accelerate and brake is worse than if you can just drive steady and just overtake and go at a steady pace in a high gear. Much better for the environment. But of course, the stupid wanker that is Humza Yousaf doesn't understand that. And so he does as he's told by the Greens. Go, oh, don't do it. No, we're stupid, but you must listen to us. It's unbelievable how this man has the sheer effrontery to call himself the First Minister. He's the first pussy. That's what he is. Work on the A96 has been long promised by the Nats, but it was paused in 2021 when the Scottish Greens entered government and demanded urgent environmental impact on fully duelling the A96. Tell them to FO. The report was expected to be published in December 22, but it still hasn't materialised, despite costing the taxpayer £3.8 million. And if there is any reason why it hasn't appeared, it will be quite simply this: that the report said it's a good idea to do it and it's good for the environment, but the Greens still don't want it, so if they don't publish it, they can't argue with the Greens. Since then, travel time, road safety and congestion have been high on the agenda of locals, along with frustration and anger over the influence of the Greens and the failure of the Nats to follow through on the promises that got them elected. Good Lord, who'd have thought it? The Nats lying, promising something and then not pulling through because they dared. They daren't upset the little leprechaun and Jeffrey. Unbelievable, isn't it? Mr Kerr said Humza Yousaf's scandalous admission confirms that the SNP government has kicked any sort of plans to upgrade the A96 between Aberdeen and Huntly into the long grass. He and his party have betrayed Aberdeenshire communities who have been pushed to the side in favour of only dualling between Inverness and Nairn. And these little bits of it, they're probably welcome because it means you can get past the slower moving lorries or any farm machinery, things like that. But the whole road needs to be. It's one of the major routes in Scotland, for heaven's sake. It's one of the most important roads in the area. It goes between two major cities, and at some points it's little more than a bloody farm track. This will come in as a kick in the teeth, he says, to motorists and businesses who have to contend with this death trap of a road on a daily basis, despite the SNP promises in 2011 that the A96 would be dualled in full. Gosh, who'd thunk it? More lies. But this time the lies are done not because they can't afford it, but because the wankers in the Greens say, no, you're not to do it. Even though it would be better for the environment, it sends out the wrong message. Humza Yousaf must now explain why he has neglected the people of the North East to appease his green overlords. They put counterparts, but it's actually overlords, and play political games with the safety and lives of drivers. Mr Yousaf has already tried to blame the UK government, which is bullshit because we know that this is a firm matter in his party. He could order that to be happening tomorrow, but he won't because his balls are in the drawer of Jeffrey the fucking giraffe. The reason why there hasn't been as much progress, as he said, is because we are in the period where our capital budgets have been cut by the UK government, and that is quite clearly a lie. And we know that because they can afford millions elsewhere, 140 million on a census that they didn't need to pay for. Bullshit, isn't it? During the podcast, Mr Yousaf said, particularly on the A9, there is no argument about the fact that the commitment is cast iron. On the A96, Inverness to Nairn bypass, again, there's no disagreement or argument about that. That road should be all the way through. And there's no argument. The only reason it isn't is because the Greens have said no. And then he's talking bullshit about, there's some difficult decisions. Yeah, is the difficult decision that you have to decide to do something that might upset the Greens? You weak man. In fact, you're not even a man, are you? You're half a man. You've been gelded by the Greens. The A96 is the second road in the Highlands to be the subject of life-threatening delays, with the SNP promising to announce updates by the end of the year on the progress of the A9. Now, I'm going to suggest that if Labour do win the next election and get in, and we're talking about the next Holyrood election and get in, or at least form a veritable opposition, because I think that they could go in with another party, perhaps the Lib Dems, and form a government. And I think if they could do that, the first job they need to do is to say, look, everything else fine, A96, dual it, and save lives. But he's actually willing to let people die because he hasn't got the balls to say no to the Greens. What a craven wanker. He's not a leader, is he? He's a follower. Harvie is the leader. I'm coming up. The awfulness of this, of course, is reflected by the fact that the people of Scotland did not vote for a Green government. And indeed, the Greens have got no constituencies. They're in on the list. And yet, without a single constituency, and only having, 7 seats, they are the effective government of Scotland. Talk about a minority government. And then you have these fools in the SNP bending over backwards, taking it up the rear end, simply to appease these lunatic fringe extremists and their weird views on what is the best thing for the people of Scotland. Not dying should be number one on that list, and they just don't care. It is time that if he is incapable of saying no, that the SNP ditch Humza Yousaf and put in someone who has got a gob on them and is willing to say, "Oi, nutters, no." And then see their funny little faces as they hear that word for the first time since entering government. It annoys me. Weakness like this is just... You need your leaders to be strong, not to be spineless, quivering, mewling quims of men, of half men. Half men. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I did get a bit angry. I do apologise. However, it just does. It's the sort of thing that gets you angry, isn't it? I used to drive along that road. I used to stop at a little cafe about halfway along. The Quaich, I think it was called. And we used to have breakfast in there. And it was very nice. And if it's still going, a little call out to it. And if anyone's in the area, do use it. Lovely little cafe. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, do please hit that subscribe button. And I think this video deserved it. I think I nailed it on this video. So if you're a regular viewer and you like this video, do hit the subscribe button. Let's help the channel grow. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, drive carefully along the A96, and do visit the Quaich. And goodbye.